So he received a Nobel Peace Prize for his research and also for his work as it relates to cancer. What does his research have to do with cancer? What does his research have to do with sugar on a whole? Today we look at Otto Warburg and the Warburg Effect. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to The Natural Alternative. Today we are looking at the work of Otto Warburg under the theme, the Warburg Effect. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please do so you can get notifications as to when we post new content. For the month of December, we're going to be taking a hard, in-depth look at cancer. I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a herbalist. And so a lot of times I get phone calls from persons as it relates to, what do I do? And one thing I make special note of is the fact that a lot of these persons who call you when they are very afraid. A lot of these are actually persons who have cancer, or they have family members, their loved ones who have cancer, and they are very, very, very fearful. They're very, very afraid, and this causes a number of reactions. Some of them will try this today, they'll try that, they'll try this, they'll try that. But a lot of these persons are of the opinion, that they want to use something that is natural. And right away, one thing that I see a lot is a lot of misconceptions, even from persons who are very educated, a lot of misconceptions. And one of the greatest misconceptions that I've seen is the fact that most people think that there is only one cancer. And remember, some of you who are just watching may be frightened to know that there are different types of cancers. And so a lot of the time that I spend talking to persons is really spent around educating them before you can help them. And I'm sure this is the case for a lot of medical doctors, especially oncologists, so much so that they don't really have the time to go into explaining to persons what are the options, because persons aren't educated enough to evaluate that information. And so I thought it especially good to do this series on cancers, looking on cancers. And if you've not yet watched our first video, you need to watch it, where we talk about cancer families, where we talk about the fact that there are over 200 different types of cancers. But even though there are over 200 different types of cancers, cancers fall into 5 major, what I call families or categories. And then I look at the questions. Once you hear that you have cancer, it is very important that what you do in the next coming weeks or the next coming days is critical to the difference between, what happens to you. And so there are 3 very important questions, and we explore these questions because these questions, 2 of them especially, are very important as it relates to how do you go about putting together an effective cancer protocol, or how do you evaluate a effective cancer protocol. So the goal of this presentation is to do 2 things. One, it is to educate persons so that they can become a part of the team. A lot of persons who have cancer and a lot of persons who have family members who have cancers are not educated enough to be able to evaluate what is a good program, all right, and when they are being taken advantage of. And so this presentation is really designed to do that. And it is number 2, not only do we want to educate persons as to being able to be a part of the team, but we want them to be educated so that they can ask the right questions. Remember, if you don't know anything, you won't even know how to ask a question. And so what I do to the person is the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. And I'm shocked, I'm actually surprised to see that there aren't many persons, with the amount of persons that I know who have cancer, I'm shocked to see that there aren't many people who are consuming this content. The other thing is that this is not a content that YouTube is going to push. This is not a content that YouTube is going to promote. So I ask you that if you have benefited from the content, please share it with somebody. The goal is to cut down the learning curve. A lot of the time that would be spent in a discussion educating persons could be spent actually helping the persons by discussing the options or discussing the treatment plan. But a lot of times oncologists, a lot of times medical doctors can't even go into that because persons are so uninformed, so persons are so uneducated that a whole lot of that time that they don't have would be spent on educating persons so that they can come up to speed, so that they can now be included in the program. And what do I mean is that a lot of times, because persons are uneducated and because medical healthcare persons don't have the time to educate you, most of the time what eventually happens is that the healthcare provider solely takes on the responsibility of determining how we're going to deal with this cancer, how we're going to deal with this particular problem, and you are left out of the loop. Imagine, you who are the person who have to live with those persons in the case of having a loved one with cancer, or you, the person who actually have the cancer, are left completely out of the loop. Your belief is totally ignored. Your concerns are totally ignored simply because you are not educated enough about cancers to be included, and because most medical personnel wouldn't have the time to educate you so that you can be a part of the process. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this video. So we're looking, in the last presentation, we looked at that also. Now, because of the sensitive nature of cancer, because of, what we can, let's leave it at. Because of the sensitive nature of cancer, I won't be able to discuss every single thing here. And so I've put together an 8-week workshop that starts this Sunday. That's not this Sunday because you're watching this may be a recording. So just check the description because I'm not even looking at a calendar to see when that is going to be. Let me take a quick glance at my calendar so I can tell you exactly what date that is going to be. But we're having a workshop coming this Sunday, which is going to be December 8th. So for those watching, it's going to be December 8th, 2024. So it's 8 weeks long, and I have a link in the description of this video if you want to be a part of that workshop. And a lot of this sensitive information we are going to discuss in that presentation, in that workshop. The general information is what I'll be able to discuss publicly on this platform, all right? So if that's something that you would be a part of, then please feel free to be a part of that. Just want to also let you know that we have coming up our ICM annual herbal medicine retreat. That's March 22nd to 28th, 2025. And the retreat is going to be here in Port Antonio, Portland. It's going to be geared towards educating persons about not only identifying plants, we're going to go beyond identifying plants, to actually making medicine. And we're going to be talking about, crafting medicines for yourselves, what goes into a formula, how you determine the ingredients of a formula. All of that we're going to be doing, as well as we're going to be having fun. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video also, so you can check that out and you can know more about that. All right, so let's go right into today's presentation. This is Otto Warburg, and he lived from 1883 to 1970. He was a scientist, and he did a lot of work as it relates to research, as it relates to cancer. And he was the one who actually found out about the role that oxygen plays in cancer cells. He went on to write a book, and he talks about the fact that cancer thrive in a body that is acidic. And so today we're going to be looking at the Warburg effect. All right, we're going to be looking at the Warburg effect. So I don't want to be long, so let's go right into that. And we're going to start out by looking exactly on cancer and the Warburg effect, understanding the metabolic shift in cancer cells. All right, so what is cancer? Cancer is a group of disease characterized by uncontrolled cell growth, invasion, and sometimes metastasis. Now, a lot of people are shocked when they hear that cancer is a group of diseases. It is a group of disease. And so there's a lot of misconception out there. A lot of persons are under the impression that when you hear that you have cancer, it's just one type of cancer. And so a lot of times people will hear that a particular individual did that and their cancer, they got better. And so, you know, they think that, okay, what works for them will work for me. It's not like that. And this is one of the reasons why it has been so difficult to tame cancer. It is because there are literally different types of cancers. One way that I say to let people understand is that think about there are different families of cancer. Right? There are different families. And families behave differently. One reason why they're grouped that way is because families that behave the same way are grouped into one families. But guess what? Sometimes it gets even more technical where just like when you can have one family crossbreeding with another family to produce an offspring. In the same way, some cancers are the result of a crossbreed between two different types of cancer. You can see how difficult, how technical this can be. And so the best way to really attack cancer is by understanding the cancer itself, understanding the cancer, that the presenting cancer, how it behaves. Because how it behaves and how it is structured is what will determine how you are going to progress. And I'm going to give you an hint of that. I won't go in depth into it, but I'll talk a little bit about that. And so cancers also arise due to genetic mutations and disruptions in normal cells signaling pathway. So there are metabolic causes and then there are genetic causes. All right? So there are metabolic causes and there are genetic causes. In today's presentation, we're going to be looking primarily at the metabolic causes, and I'll talk about you know, what are some of the debates that have been triggered around that, and what are the hallmarks of cancers. What is unique to cancers? So the first one is that they have sustained proliferative signaling, and basically what this means is that some cancers grow because it is based on cells just proliferating. It's based on the proliferation of cells or the duplication of cells, the rapid, uncontrolled duplication of cells. That is one of the characteristics of cancers. And so it's very important because just understanding that about a particular cancer will help you to determine how you are going to put together a treatment plan. And when we talk about treatment plan, just from this particular area, I'm going to talk about some of the possible treatment plans or treatment path. So some cancers is the result of sustained proliferating signaling. So the cancers basically give signals to the body that result in rapid duplication of cells. So if that is the underlying factor, then in the treatment path, we must have something that addresses rapid proliferation of cells. And this is where it's important because, you know, some people use a natural approach, and there are some herbs that have been proven to be very effective in reducing or slowing and maybe stopping the proliferation. So if your cancer is the result of rapid proliferation of cells, then in your cancer treatment path, in your program, you're going to need an ingredient, you're going to need a therapy, you're going to need an approach that is going to speak to the rapid proliferation of cells. All right? But that is not the only types of cancer. Some cancers are more based on rapid proliferation. Put it that way. Some cancers, not all cancers, are based on rapid proliferation of cells. What are some other factors that affect some cancers? Have what is called evading growth suppressors. evading growth suppressors. So some cancers, what they do is that they give signals to the body, and they give signals to the body to evade. So let us say there's a signal in the body that tells the cells how fast it should grow. Well, some cancers have found ways to send signals to the body to tell the cancer to evade that signaling, so grow faster instead of growing at a particular rate. So if it is that you're going to put together a cancer treatment plan, depending on the cancer that you have, in the program, you may need something that addresses why the cancer is evading the normal signals, right? So understanding how your cancer behaves is very important in determining how your treatment path is going to be structured. Then there's resisting cell death. Now, in a normal person, what happens is that our cells duplicate, they grow to a certain point, and eventually they die by themselves, they self-destruct. We call it apoptosis. Now, some cancers do not follow that sequence. Some cancers have avoided or they have evaded the self-death process so that they continue to live longer and reproduce longer than they should. Now, again, this has to be taken into account. This has to be factored in if you're going to have an effective program. So right away, you're seeing that some cancers may be a blend of these different factors, or it may be maybe more based on one or two of these factors. This is, of course, is determined by the family that the cancer is from. And when we talk about families, there are some cancers now, when they talk about rare cancers, cancers that are rare, they're talking about cancers that have not fit into any clearly understood pattern. And so they are rare because they don't even know how to approach it. And so these are possibilities of cancers out there. But it's very important that we understand that there is no one, right? There is no one type of cancers. And what's important is understanding, in our first presentation, we talk about asking the question, what family does my cancer belong to? What type of cancer do I have? Do I have a sarcoma? Do I have a melanoma? Do I have a lymphoma? What type of cancer do I have? That first helps you to begin to understand how you are going to, because see this cancer as your enemy. And then you need to understand your enemy to know how to defeat your enemy, right? You need to understand. So one of the greatest misconceptions that I've found is that most people believe that there's only one type of cancer. So that's, to me, is one of the big issues that I really want to address. Then we have inducing angiogenesis. So the hallmarks of some cancer is their ability to induce angiogenesis. What is angiogenesis? Angiogenesis is where some cancers will give information to the body to form new blood vessels. And this is, of course, very true of those cancers that are tumor-based, the carcinomas and the sarcomas. These are cancers that are mainly tumors. And so because they are tumors that are growing and they need blood, what they do is they give information to the body to produce new blood cells or to form bigger blood vessels to feed blood to them. And that's why you find that a lot of persons who have these cancers, sarcomas, carcinomas, you will find that they begin to lose weight. The reason why they begin to lose weight is because the blood and the nutrients is being diverted away from the person to the tumor, right? So it needs nourishment, it needs feeding, it needs to be sustained. So those are different types of cancers. Now, in a protocol, you have to have something that speaks to that. And there are therapies and there are plants and there are herbs that work very well. We talk about, for example, guinea hen, and the reason why guinea hen is so effective against prostate cancer, which is usually a cancer that is a tumor-based cancer, is because some studies suggest that guinea hen has here's the word, they have angiogenesis properties, which means that one that guinea hen does, and also studies have shown, studies suggest that it does along with graviola, is that it cuts off blood supply, right? Now, that's a prostate tumor or a breast tumor, but there are different types of tumors. There are lymphomas and there are myelomas that work very differently. So you're kind of seeing what I'm talking about, the importance of understanding the way a cancer behaves and functions. Then there's what is called deregulating cellular energetics. This is another hallmark of cancers, where some cancers basically determine how they are fed, how they are nourished, and how they receive their sustenance. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be talking about, so those are the hallmarks of cancers, all right? Those are the hallmarks of cancers. These are pretty much things that people look for in identifying particular cancers. All right, so it's very important for us to understand that. All right, let's look at the metabolic needs of cancers. Rapid growth and division require energy and macromolecules. Altered metabolisms support these demands and provide survival advantages. So when we look at the metabolic makeup in terms of the needs of cancer, some cancers, because of the rapid proliferation, because they're constantly duplicating, then and because there's rapid cell division, then there is a need for the raw material, the proteins that is needed to make these cells, and then there is the energy. And so some cancers alter how they receive the energy to carry out these functions. All right, they alter how this is done. So energy primarily generated through oxidative phosphorylation in the mitochondria. Glycolysis is used in low oxygen conditions or during quick bursts of activity. So basically, we're going to talk about Paul Warburg's effect, because what he noted was that there was a compelling difference between how natural cells carry out their metabolic functions and how cancer cells carry out their metabolic functions. And what he found was that there are certain things unique. So irrespective of whatever cancer you have, he noticed that this was one of the underlying behavior of all cancers. And this, of course, is very important. And so this was the reason why he received his Nobel Peace Prize. And so cancer cells, he noted, prefer glycolysis for energy production, even in the presence of oxygen. And let me just break that down for some persons, because I don't want persons to be lost. I want to make it as simple as possible. What he realized is that with a normal cell in the presence of oxygen used far less sugar to carry out its metabolic function. All right? So we call it aerobic respiration, air respiration. So, and I'll show you, I'll give you an image. So basically, the normal cell would use small amounts of sugar, oxygen, in order, and oxygen to produce its energy. But for cancer cells use far more sugar. They use far more sugar to produce their energy. They need lots of sugar. And so cancer cells thrive in an anaerobic environment. In other words, cancer cells thrive in what we call an acidic environment, whereas healthy cells thrive in an oxygenated environment. And this is Otto Warburg's most notable observation. And so he called that the Warburg Effect, right? The Warburg Effect. And so in a nutshell, he noticed that this shift supports their rapid proliferation. So he noted that cancer cells need lots of sugar in order to carry out their process of producing energy, whereas healthy cells don't use that much sugar. Also, healthy cells need oxygen, whereas cancer cells need an anaerobic environment. And so that was very notable. And so molecular drivers of altered metabolisms, mutations in oncogenes, tumor suppressors. And the oncogenes are basically a way that the body produces lots of, how should I put it now? I'm going to put it simple for you to understand, because I don't want to get even technical. So what he noticed is that cancer cells, as I said, thrive in an environment where there is lots of acidity. And sometimes some cancer cells, what they do is they create that acidity in their end process. After they produce their energy, the end product of their energy is to produce more acidity, right? It's to produce more acidity. And so understanding this is very important. So you observe this phenomenon where cancer cells favor glycolysis over oxidative phosphorylation, even oxygen is abundant. And so that was a very notable effect, because now we understand that there is a unique characteristics of cancer cells. Now, sugar is not one of the only ingredient that cancers thrive on, right? There are other factors as well. So I don't want to just limit it to sugar. There are other factors. But what we know is that healthy cells, if they are starved of sugar, healthy cells will convert fat. Our healthy cells will use fat to produce their energy, whereas cancer cells are not able to do that. They primarily need sugar, right? And so with that, we now come to understand that it's possible to starve your cancer. So what is the significance of the Warburg effect? It provides a metabolic advantage to cancer cells, that we know. It represents a hallmark of cancer metabolism and potential therapeutic target. So now that we know that sugar is important or is significant, or is a significant advantage to the metabolic process of cancer, we know that therapeutically in attacking cancer, one of the ways that we can do that is finding a way to reduce the sugar, but not harming the healthy cells, right? And so in our workshop, we go in depth into that. We actually give you a 30-day meal plan, or share with you a 30-day meal plan that potentially has the ability to starve cancer cells, right? And I've put together this 30-day meal plan. What should I say it now? Because I live in Jamaica, but I work around the world. So it was primarily, this diet plan was primarily designed utilizing ingredients that can be easily found in Jamaica. Because a lot of times the truth is that when a lot of things are done, it is not unique to us Caribbean people. Now, that does not mean to say that I don't factor in any ethnicity or anybody else. I'm just saying that everybody else is focusing on everybody else except us. So the diet sheet is A 30-day diet sheet includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it comprises mostly of food that are primarily found in Jamaica. It can be found anywhere else in the world, but it can be found because a lot of times when we do these things, we don't factor Caribbean people in, we don't factor Jamaican people in, and this is who I'm directing to. But you know, the principle upon which the diet sheet is based can be used anywhere in the world where particular types of food are available, right? So in the upcoming, in the 8-week workshop, as I said, I go into sensitive information, things that I can go into on this platform, I go into that workshop. So I share that with the persons. And so it's very important that we understand it is possible. The question is it possible to starve cancer cells? And that's one of the big questions that is out there. But the Warburg effect underscores the fact that as it relates to sugar, and I know some people are taught that you can eat almost anything or you can eat anything you want. Otto Warburg discovered that cancer cells use lots of sugar to carry out their metabolic functions. And so one way of actually even slowing down the cancer is almost immediately shifting to a diet that is low in sugar. So one of the tools that we give persons, as I just said, is a diet sheet that possibly can help in that regard. It's 70% high fat, 20% protein, and 10% simple sugars. All right. So we make it available in our upcoming workshop. So you know, it's very important that we understand that educating ourselves is very important. And so when you put together a treatment plan, a treatment